right out there, swept it clean of all the dirt, scooped all the rocks out and all the everything, got it out. And I was like, okay, I think we're good. But you know, that little spout of water brought in enough silt, really fine clay kind of dirt. It brought in enough silt that towards the end of us, saving the sanctuary from mass flooding and sitting down relaxing for a few minutes, all of a sudden, we see water again coming in. I was like, man, that lousy silt, that clay, it clogged it again after Monday was a long day here at church. It was exciting, but I don't want to do it again. But dust, just the dust that filled that thing after I'd already cleared it, and it's like, wow, like the dust of the earth. If you could count the dust of the earth, you could count Abraham's descendants, too numerous to count. So anyway, I thought you would giggle at least, so it was all worth it. God promises Abram and his descendants will be more numerous than the dust of the earth. And through human means, it seems absurd, but Abram is getting older. He has no kids. How is this supposed to happen? Now, the reason, because Abram's supposed to be this father of many nations. And, what's going on with that? Well, the reason is it's not who he is yet. That's a small spoiler to chapter 17 that we'll be getting, probably in a few months from now. But let's look at verses 17 and 18 as it starts winding down. Check this out. Verse 17, go, this is God speaking to Abram, go, walk through the length and the breadth of the land, for I'm giving it to you. Man, how cool is that? Like, that's your heavenly daddy just showing off right there. Like, not only has he surprised Abram, saying that he's going to have a big, amazing family, not only has he given him the land, he says, yeah, like, go on tour, like, go around, check it out, like, look at all this stuff you're getting, like, go walk around. It's like almost like a kid in a candy store, you tell them, okay, you can get one thing, and they're just like, and they're looking at everything. Like, that's Abram right now. He's looking around, and he's looking at all these places that him and his family is going to inherit. Moving on, verse 18. So Abram went to live near the great trees of Mamre at Hebron, where he pitched his tents. There he built an altar to the Lord. So something really interesting happens in this verse, and I did a little digging. Now, we've talked about how when Abram built an altar to the Lord previously, and it was this place where he can offer sacrifices, whether it was sacrifices of thanks or sacrifices of atonement for his family and for his sins. And it's a place where he can meet and be with God, and he can experience, God even closer than he already was. But the other stuff is I found some interesting things in there. So the great trees of Mamre, it does refer to an actual place, and it's where Abram built another altar. But Mamre has its own meaning in Hebrew, and when I tell you what it means in Hebrew, it's going to become one of those cyclical kind of dilemmas where it's like, okay, which came first, the chicken or the egg? You're going to see that here. Mamre means to have vision or to understand and to have insight. So, did God give him this vision at Mamre? Or did he go to Mamre after the vision? Which came first? Is it named Mamre because that's where he had the vision? Who knows? But it gives this idea of vision and insight. And maybe, very much, we see this a lot in the Bible where they name the certain place after what's happened there. There was the place where the Hebrews, they argue against Moses because they didn't have water, and then they get water out of the rock, and then they name it, this because they've contested with the Lord. I don't remember the exact Hebrew name. But I wonder if it's one of those things. But it's to have sight, to have make sure I get it right here. Yeah, to understand, to have vision, to have insight. To the north, south, east, and west. Now, another thing, and this got me really thinking, and I did some fun digging, and I hope this blesses you as it blessed me, because I was just like, this is cool. Like, you ever run into those certain times when you have questions in the Bible, and you're not able to find a really good answer right up front, and it takes a bit more digging? That's what I ran into when I was preparing this. So, the next one really had me thinking. He's amongst the great trees of Mamre in Hebron. Now, my curious eye saw that, and I said, well, let's look into this. What is this Hebron stuff about? The name Hebron has its roots in the Hebrew word haver, meaning friend or companion. And Hebron itself, how it is the city, it means community. So friend, community, has its whole root in that. Now, there's this one verse over in Isaiah where Isaiah recalls the history past, and it talks about specifically how Abraham is God's friend. It says this over in Isaiah chapter 41, verse 8, and it says this, "But you, Israel, my servant, Jacob, whom I have chosen, you descendants of Abraham, my friend." Okay, so tracking with me so far? Haver, friend, Hebron, community, that sort of thing. So if I was a betting man, I'm not a betting man, but if I was, I would wager that this is where we get the image that Abraham is a friend of God, and he's the first Hebrew. That the Hebrew is the friend of God. The Hebrew is the person who's in community with God, the friend of God. I thought that was really cool, because a lot of times throughout the Old Testament history, they're referred to as the Hebrews because, they didn't inherit the land of Israel yet, but they were the Israelites because they're the son of Jacob who's renamed Israel. So, I don't know about you, but studying the Bible, sometimes I'd come across these moments where I scratch my head and I'm just like, okay, are they the Jews, the Hebrews, the Israelites? Who are these people? Are they talking about the same people? Are they talking about different people? What's going on? And it was like, no, they really are talking about the same people. It just kind of refers to them in different context. I'll give you an example. When we talk about Jehovah Jireh, he's the God who provides. If I leave a blank like that, you can jump in. And there's Jehovah Nissi, the Lord is my banner. Jehovah Rophi, the Lord is my healer. And there's all these, it's all referring to the same God. It's just referring to him in a different context of his character. Right? We don't believe in some sort of pantheon where, we need to pray, well, I really need to pray to the God of finance. No, he's the God over everything. But when we talk about the Israelites, we talk about those who are the sons of Jacob. When we talk about the Jews, it's kind of two-sided on that one. They're either descendants of Judah, or it more refers to the culture and tradition and the religion of Judaism. But then there's also this word Hebrew, and Hebrew just refers to really the descendants of Abraham. And these are the people who, towards the end of Genesis and where we pick up the book of Exodus, these are the Hebrews who have been mistreated for 400 years, who have now enslaved in Egypt and now need rescuing. But when I uncovered that, when I was like, wait a minute, Hebron, that sounds a lot like Hebrew, and I did some digging, and so check this out. The descendants of Abraham are characterized as people who are friends and have community with God. I thought that was cool. I don't know about you, but I thought that was cool. So anyway. Alrighty. That is our study tonight. That's the end of Genesis 13. Next week we'll be picking it up in Genesis 14. We've been at this since late September last year. I'm kind of interested to see how far are we going to get in 1 year's time. So in less than 2 months we'll be at 1 year. And so it's we've done 15 chapters in 1 year. So I hope you enjoyed it. I have been. And we don't have to go, once we get to Leviticus, we might jump ship and go somewhere else, but I really enjoy Genesis. Genesis is a book of the Bible that comes under attack a lot by skeptics, and it's one where if we can't have a good understanding of what's happening in Genesis, a lot of the stuff later doesn't make as much sense, and it can't be as easily defended. And so when I was thinking about what should we talk about, I was like, what? Genesis. The other book that's really challenged a lot is Revelation. And Revelation is a challenge to read and a challenge to understand and even a greater challenge to teach. And I understand why pastors usually stray away from Revelation, but we'll get there. Who knows? 5, 7, 8, 10 years? No, I'm just kidding. But let's pray. Jesus, thank you so much for this time that you've given us. Lord, help us to be your haver, Lord, your friends. Lord, help us remember, Lord, that we are a people who are in community with you, and that there may be moments and times and circumstances where where we feel isolated. But Lord, it's not your nature, Lord. And so, Lord, help us with our fears and our doubts. And Lord, just rejoice and, Lord, have such peace and comfort, Lord, in your